Hi, I am Susan Hoekstra, and I am here to guide you through this color study class. Color and color contrast are very important in needlework. So let's delve in and take a look at a couple of different color topics. When you decide what colors you are going to insert into each area, understanding how they interact is imperative. For example, if your colors include complements, colors which are opposite each other on the color wheel, you will get great contrast. Complementary colors give you one of the biggest bangs for your color buck. So if you want a great contrast, stitch those colors on their complementary areas. On the other hand, if you want a more subtle, softer look, use colors closer to each other on the color wheel within each area. The closer colors are on the color wheel, the less contrast or tension is created. Let's take a look at a value scale quickly before moving on to the jewel color choice. This is just a quick view of a value scale. Going forward, when we speak of value, we will be referring to this scale, black being a value 1 and white being a value 11. Closely, you will see the contrast here is created through the threads. The darker background makes the lighter colors pop. In color theory, we say dark colors have a low value on a value scale, and the lighter threads have a higher value. Consequently, when a high value color is placed on a low value background, the lighter color is more visible. The gold thread showing on the left bottom quadrant is highly visible due to that color and value interaction. I do wonder how this gold thread will look on the gold painted quadrant. Perhaps one of you is stitching that combination. The jewel color story creates a great understanding of how value can affect the way your piece looks. You want great contrast? Make sure the colors are as far apart as possible on the value scale. You want low contrast? Make sure the colors are closer together on the value scale. Value is hugely helpful when looking at contrast. The spring color story also needs to utilize a value scale. I say this because the painted quadrants and the threads are close in value. So then what does one do to create contrast? What I did was to make sure the threads used were not the same color as the painted area. With this color story, this is the best way to create contrast. Do not want to create contrast? Then move colors which are like each other onto their respective color quadrants. Season's color story can be one great complementary color contrast piece. I did not do that, but it is achievable. So if great contrast is the desire, move your threads around until they are on top of their complement. When I stitched this, I wanted some contrast, but not a lot. I wanted it to be a little bit more subtle. Though if I stitch this again, I would possibly move the purple onto the yellow, put more green onto the red, put blue onto the orange, and the pastel overdyed onto the blue. Perhaps one of you is stitching this color story with that in mind. Through all of these color stories, the painted background does change the eye's interpretation of the color thread. Simultaneous contrast can be very powerful in some pieces of needlework. The eye demands a complement when viewing a color, and this phenomenon can change how the viewer sees your piece of needlework. Simultaneous contrast refers to the way in which two different colors affect each other. The theory is that one color can change how we perceive the hue of another when the two are placed next to each other and they are not complements. The actual colors themselves do not change, but we see them as altered. This movement into a complementary relationship is to satisfy the eye is an important aspect to consider. When colors take on hues other than what we want, it can cause chaos and an unpleasant feeling when viewing the piece. How much of a color is on your canvas can also affect how the color is perceived. When there is a lot of color, we say that it has greater extension. Since colors have feelings associated with them, it is best to make sure the color you are using to a higher extent really shows what you want to portray. This is the end of video number 1.